air adventures of Biggles.
It was a perfectly normal London morning. Overcast, threatening to drizzle at any minute, hundreds of buses and cars moving steadily and determinedly about their business, and thousands of people scurrying from busy Victoria Station in a desperate effort to reach their offices in time for work. This was the late crowd, the folk who leave it till the last possible train. But they were the normal late arrivals to the city. Even the two young men who were hurrying out to Buckingham Palace Road had been known to catch a late train before, although one of them objected very strongly to such a method of transport.
Oh, beastly, noisy, bally things. Sizzling sausages. I don't know why trains were invented. If I had to come to work by train every day, I just thinking, well, wouldn't work, that's all.
Well, you don't anyway.
Now, don't you start that, Gins. I warn you, don't start any of your insulting nonsense at this horrible hour of the morning. We Ulysses may wake up at the crack of jolly old dawn, but our tempers don't come to till about midday. So watch your step.
Talking of steps, you better pep yours up a bit. It'll be midday before we reach Scotland Yard at the rate you're ambling along.
Oh, baked potatoes. I'm to be flogged along like a blinking cart horse just because that train was late, am I?
The train was running to timetable. It was you who were late.
Oh, I say. Oh, I say.
Look, for goodness sake, stop stuttering and get a move on. Biggles will sack us if we keep arriving at this hour.
So you have to put up with it this morning, old bean. Keep close to the buildings and don't turn your ugly phiz to the road.
Don't you start talking about my face.
Turn away, you chump. Do you want him to see you?
Who?
A certain body who's just hurried past us. Now, come on, clap on some pace. We mustn't lose sight of the blighter.
Who the dickens are you talking about?
Oh, just the last sausage you'd expect to see toddling along Buckingham Palace Road, that's all.
Will you stop burbling and tell me who this is?
Look, that tall trout about 20 yards ahead, wearing a Homburg and a grey overcoat.
Oh, I see him. Ah, there's something familiar about that bloke's walk.
Yes, there should be, old bean. We've seen him trot hither and yon often enough.
But who...
Of all the beastly blighters we've met in our travels, who would you least expect to find in London?
Well, I can think of quite a few. We've run into some queer types in our time.
But one slightly more obnoxious than all the others put together.
Good grief! It's Erich von Stalhein.
None other. Our jolly old enemy-in-chief himself, and here in London. Now keep your throttle out, old bean, and we'll find out why. Oh, what ho, my hearties, what ho, what ho, what ho, top of the morning to you and all such similar rot.
Morning? It's down near afternoon. This is a fine time to get to Scotland Yard.
And it's the last time you young idiots are going to arrive late like this. I know you're bored stiff with office work, but unless you arrive on time in the morning...
Oh, don't be too hard on them, Biggles. They may have brought a note.
Oh, we brought better than that. Who'd like to hear some really juicy news?
Don't think you're going to put me off with the red herrings. I'm serious about this. I'm not going to tolerate unpunctuality.
But it's really scrumptious news, old trout. Absolutely out of the icebox. Who do you think's in London?
Well, there's Winston Churchill.
No, be serious, Algy. They're really busting about something.
Who is it?
None other than your old bosom pal, Erich von Stalhein.
What?
Stalheim?
Are you sure, Bertie?
I'll swear my most solemn oath, if you like. By dear Aunt Ermintrude's favourite hairnet...
We saw him just outside Victoria Station.
But he's somewhere behind the Iron Curtain.
Don't you believe it, old darling. At the moment, he's probably having a late breakfast at the Grosvenor Hotel, only a couple of valley blocks from here.
You followed him?
You bet we did. We saw him go into the hotel and waited around until we'd established that he was staying there.
Erich von Stalhein in London. This is interesting news.
It seems incredible he hates England.
And the English. Like a lot of other Germans, von Stalheim can't forgive us for being on the winning side of the war.
And of all the English, he hates us most. We've been on the winning side of a few personal wars with old Erich. It's my guess he's come over to crack back at us.
No, that's too far-fetched, Ginge. But his visit could be concerned with his hatred of England.
Oh, that doesn't make sense, Biggles.
Yes, it does. What is von Stalhein above all else?
A rotten Nazi.
Well, he's been an airman, a spy, an adventurer, and sometimes a crook.
But behind all these, he's been a Prussian soldier. Nothing matters more to him than Germany. He'll adopt any politics, he'll take on any dirty job, providing it will help make Germany strong and perhaps, one day, dominant again.
This is all a most interesting character study. But what's it leading up to?
Simply that I feel von Stalhein's presence here is highly dangerous. Perhaps even to England. We're police and we know him better than anybody else. So it's up to us to do something about it.
All right then, Biggles, let's pick him up. He has a long enough criminal record.
The picking up can be done after we've established what he's doing here. Pat, will you stay here and look after the office?
Of course.
If the assistant commissioner happens to come down, you can tell him... No. Just tell him we're out on a job. I'll explain later that we were doing some spying on Mr. Erich von Stalhein.
I say, aren't we rather asking to be spotted sitting in the jolly old hotel foyer like this?
There are four of us. If we keep our eyes skinned, we should see him before he sees us. Be ready to slip behind cover the minute he does show up.
It'll be a bit of a sill if he's gone out, won't it? Look, I think we
There
should...
he is, coming out of the lift. It's von Stalhein, all right.
Well, sizzling sausage, didn't we tell you
Straight.
that...
Hop behind that magazine stall.
He's wearing his hat and coat. Must be going out again.
He is. He's handing in his key to the desk. Algy, you and Bertie trail him. Keep on his back all day if necessary, and try to establish what he's up to.
Roger. What about you?
Ginge and I will see what can be found out at the hotel here. Quickly. He's going out now. On your way.
Oh, we're pulling into a station.
It's about time. Let's hope the blighter gets out.
Come to the window and watch the platform. We mustn't miss him.
Oh, sizzling sausages, no. Biggles would be rather terse about that. Oh, this isn't my lucky day. Look, no one getting out at all.
No. The platform's quite deserted except for the guard and... Oh, and that old woman who's climbing aboard.
Where? Oh, yes, I see her. Oh, I say, look here. You don't suppose that she's a horribly suspicious old body who has some dark and dirty rendezvous with Starley on the train? I mean to say, my dear old Aunt Brunhild always warned me to distrust kindly old faces. Her own was like the tail end of a liberator.
Oh, look here, Bertie, don't be a complete ass. Well, we can relax again for a while. He must be still in his compartment.
Oh, by Jove, I suppose he is. And I mean to say, it'd be absolutely dreadful if he...
I'm awfully sorry. I didn't realize this compartment was occupied. Do you mind if I come in?
No, not at all.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's so nice to sit down again. I've been shopping for my niece all morning, and I always find it terribly tiring on my feet. Don't you?
Oh, absolutely, most awfully tiring. Look, Algy, I'm worried about that blighter. I'm going to sneak along the corridor and see if he's still there.
I suppose his compartment door's shut.
Well, I'll sneak through the keyhole or some such nonsense, but I'll take a gander anyway.
All right, but for Pete's sake, be careful. If he spots you, we'll never find out what he's doing in England.
Oh, you know us lissies, old bean, the souls of discretion. Positive souls of the bally stuff.
You have another friend traveling on the train, have you?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I forgot you were there. Friend, yes. Well, yes, he's a sort of a friend, in a way. Well, an acquaintance, shall we say.
No. A pity you couldn't have him in here with you. If you'd like me to, I'll change seats with him. I always think it's so much nicer if you can travel with friends. Don't you?
Yes, indeed. Yes, much nicer.
Oh, but then perhaps you aren't the talkative type. I am. My niece always says I'm a chatterbox. I don't think that's true, but, well, I do like to talk. Do you?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Young man, I don't think you even heard what I said. You aren't worried about anything, are you? Your friend, perhaps?
No, I'm not worried.
Bertie, what's up? Everything. Close the door. Hold it shut.
Where's von Stalheim?
At the moment, I think the blight is trundling into the corridor. His door was ajar, and I was just applying the old eye to the opening when the train gave a lurch. It threw me against the door.
Did it open?
Not quite, but he knew someone was outside. I saw him jump to his feet and then sprinted. Hang on to that bally door. Don't open it, whatever happens. Oh, it's happened.
You're a clot, Bertie. Now you've ruined everything properly. Algy's brain races for a solution to the problem as he clings tight to the compartment door. Has von Stalhein recognized Bertie? And what is the German doing in England? His presence will lead to an exciting new story in The Air Adventures of Biggles.
The Air Adventures of Biggles.
Running late for their work at Air Police Headquarters, Scotland Yard, Bertie and Ginge are startled to recognize one of the crowd hurrying from Victoria Station. It is Biggles' greatest enemy, Erich von Stalhein. Biggles is intrigued with the news, but also worried, for von Stalhein's presence usually spells danger. He decides to check on the German immediately, without letting him know that he's seen him in England. He and Ginge cover his hotel, while Algy and Bertie follow von Stalhein aboard a southbound train. While Algy absently responds to the chatter of the elderly woman sharing their compartment, Bertie sneaks along the corridor to ensure that their quarry is still on the train. Then he races back to the compartment and slams shut the door. Von Stalhein has seen him.
Hang on to that belly door, Algy. Don't open it, whatever happens. Oh, it's happened. The blight has followed me.
Now you've ruined everything, you idiot. If he recognized you, he'll be on the defensive at once. We'll never find out why he's in England.
I don't know that he actually recognized me. He just saw that there was someone peeking through his door.
He'll recognize us when he comes in here, won't he? We can't keep him out forever.
Oh, you're right, Algy. I'm an utter clot. Oh, I don't know what we can do now.
Please, I wish to come in. Will you open the door?
It's von Stalhein. It seems I've heard that voice outside so many doors.
We'll have to let him in and bluff it out, old sausage. There's nothing else we can do.
Oh, yes, there is.
Hey? Oh, baked potatoes. Sorry, ma'am. I forgot you were there.
Am I right in suspecting that you don't want that man to find you in here?
You're absolutely right.
I think you'd better keep out of it, madam.
Oh, I shouldn't dream of keeping out of it. My niece always says that I'm a born busybody. Now, here's what you must do.
Open this door at once or I shall call the guard.
No, please don't do that. I shall let you in a minute. It isn't convenient just yet.
I beg your pardon, madam. I did not know there was a lady there. I shall wait, of course.
Ma'am, you're a genius. I don't think anything else would have kept old Starley outside. Thank goodness he's a Prussian gentleman of the old school.
Young man, I think you talk too much. There isn't much time, so you must hide.
Hide? Where?
Haven't you ever read any books? Under the seats, of course. There's just room for one on each side of the compartment.
But I say, suppose he looks down.
You will leave that to me. Now, down you go. Under the seats.
Oh, I don't. Come on.
Are you all right? All right, then I'll let him in. You may come in now. Well,
May pardon, madame, for intruding, but you are alone?
of course I am alone. Who did you expect to find here?
But while I waited in the corridor, there were voices.
Oh, dear me. Oh, dear. I must have been talking to myself again. You know, my niece always says that it's the first sign. Sometimes when I do it at home...
Again, your pardon, but I must know. Why did you keep me waiting for so long?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, the compartment was in such a mess. After the other young man burst in, I jammed the door shut and started to tidy it up. I hadn't finished when you knocked.
And the young man, what is this?
Oh, about 5 minutes ago. Most extraordinary behavior. The door was ajar, you see, and suddenly the train gave a lurch. Then, before I knew what had happened, this young man tumbled into the compartment.
This is the truth?
Well, I'd hardly make up a thing like that now, would I? Do you know what I think? I think he was one of those busybodies who creep around trains spying on other people. You know, trying to see who's aboard and what they're doing. It really shouldn't be allowed.
This young man, was he a slim, vacuous-looking fellow with a monocle?
Oh, dear me, no. He was a big man, very fair, and he didn't look at all the type to wear a monocle. I rather thought he was a country boy.
It must have been mistaken. For a moment I thought it was...
Why did you see him too? Don't tell me he burst into your compartment.
No, not exactly burst in. He bumped against the door. I did not see him very clearly. Please, madam, I hope you will forgive my intrusion. It seems I have made a mistake.
No, not at all. I was delighted for the chance of a little chat. I do so love a gossip. Oh, and if you see that young man again, do tell me, won't you? I'd love to know if it's the same one.
I feel sure it was. He was just some snooper, I think you call it. Good day, madam. I shall trouble you no more.
Oh, no trouble at all. All right, boys. You can come out now.
Do you think this bloke will talk, Biggles?
He'll have to. We're the police, don't forget.
Yes, but you know these hotel managers. Some of them are as cagey as Billio where their clients are concerned.
We'll get it out of him.
Come in. I was told you gentlemen insisted on seeing me. Really, I'm very busy today. I can't see why the desk clerk can't fix you up.
My name is Bigglesworth. Detective Inspector Bigglesworth of Scotland Yard.
Oh, well, there's been no trouble here, Inspector, I assure you of that.
Here are my credentials. You better see them, because I must insist on you giving some information about one of your guests.
My guests? Oh, I could never do that. The staff are never allowed to talk about...
I said I insist. Are you satisfied about my identity?
Oh, yes, quite.
Well, you have a German staying here. His name is von Stalheim.
Oh, no, there's no one of that name staying here. You must have come to the wrong hotel, sir.
He's staying here, all right. I saw you talking to him by the lift this morning at about 10:15.
But I talk to so many of them. I guess, after all, I'm virtually their host. You know,
Now, this chap is tall, and he's powerfully built. Close-cropped hair, and wears a monocle. He was carrying a Homburg hat and was wearing a grey overcoat.
Oh, you mean Mr. Starlick, Mr. Jan Starlick. He's one of our old guests, and a very fine gentleman, too.
How long has he been here?
4 months now.
4 months?
And we only spotted him this morning. Just as well we did.
All right, my friend. You can start talking. I want you to tell us everything you know about Mr. Jan Starlick.
What I can't make out, ma'am, is where you picked up the talent for it. You showed positive ballet genius the way you fobbed off that blighter.
Oh, I read a lot of books, you know, and I love imagining myself in exciting situations like this one. I spend hours planning what I would do if I were caught up in some thrilling adventure. My niece says I romance too much, but I think it's such fun. Don't you?
It can be dangerous sometimes. We're very grateful to you for what you did.
Oh, it was nothing. But I thought the touch about the young man spying on me, too, was rather good. That quite stopped your friend from being suspicious, didn't it?
That, if we Lissies may coin a phrase, ma'am, was the master stroke. That was where your geniusful intrigue shone through like a ballet beacon.
How nice of you to say that. I must tell my niece when I get home.
Another station. Keep watch, Bertie. We mustn't let him give us the slip now.
Caterham. This is where the Guards regiment have their depot, isn't it?
That's right. He's getting out. Quick, Bertie.
Oh, I say, Wizzo. Jolly old chase is on again.
Are you going? What a pity.
Oh, yes, afraid we must, ma'am. Our dear old pal has just trundled onto the station.
Before you go, please tell me who you are and why you're following him. Is it some sort of game?
Do you really want to know?
Oh, but of course.
Then don't tell a soul, but we're police. The man we're following is an international spy. Toodle pip, ma'am.
A spy? Oh, my goodness, how thrilling. What will my niece say when she hears this?
He's going into that doorway. Hurry, Bertie. We mustn't lose him.
I still can't make out why the blader came to Caterham. Do you think it has anything to do with being a guard's depot?
I haven't a clue. But if we keep on his heels, we may find out. The Stand Easy. That's a cafe.
Looks like one of those places the troops use. Valley dumps full of them. I can't picture friend Erich eating in a hole like that from choice.
Well, looks as if he's going to. You can see him through the window.
Cafe full of soldiers. I say, Albine, you don't think that...
He's found a table. Bertie, that young guardsman knows him. They're shaking hands.
By Jove, his CEO wouldn't like that. I mean to say, no self-respecting guardsman would shake hands with old Erich.
I don't know that I like it myself. Von Stalhein has been one of the cleverest spies in Europe. He hates England and everything connected with her. Now, why should he be sitting down, the best of pals, with a young guardsman?
Blowed if I know, Albine.
Neither do I. But it proves we were right to shadow him. He's up to some dirty work. And unless I'm mistaken, he's up to it in there now. The two police peer through the cafe window, but they can tell nothing from the smiling faces of von Stalhein and the young guardsman. The Germans' presence in England means trouble. But what trouble? Learn more of this exciting mystery in the next thrilling chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles.
The Air Adventures of Biggles.
While Biggles and Ginge make inquiries in London, Algy and Bertie follow von Stalhein to the small Surrey town of Caterham. This puzzles them because near Caterham is the large training depot of one of England's crack guards regiments. This surely could have no connection with the visit of a former Nazi. And then, looking through a cafe window, they see von Stalhein sitting at a table and talking earnestly with a young guardsman.
Bertie, we've got to find out who that kid is.
No, absolutely. What would you like me to do? Burble up to the sausage and say, "What ho, old top? Would you mind trotting forth the old moniker? Old Erich hasn't been very talkative of late."
Don't be an ass. I have an idea that we'd find out what he's up to if we learn more about that guardsman. But I don't quite know how to go about it.
Old Bean, it's as easy as tooting on old Harriet. You just leave it to Uncle Bertie.
What are you going to do?
Some sleuthing with that boy in brown who's toddling this way. I always could handle these valley foot sloggers.
This soldier, now be careful with him. We don't want him to tell the blokes inside that we're asking about him.
Remember what I said. Leave it to Uncle Bertie. I say, old Bean, what ho, what ho?
You talking to me?
Oh, well, yes, father. We were thinking you might be able to solve a spot of argument for us, old sausage. Do you know those blighters in the cafe?
What? Oh, the guardsman? Oh, yes, I know him.
Well, look here. The fact is we're having an argument about that tall, sandy-haired sausage who's sitting with the civvy. Now, I'll eat my bally monocle if that isn't Graham Thompson, the bloke who wields a nifty bat for Surrey.
And I say he's talking through his hat.
Sounds as if he does a bit of that. Well, you can eat your monocle, mister. That's young Ian Ross. And even if he could play cricket, he wouldn't play for Surrey. He comes from Edinburgh.
Oh, I say, what a bally sell. Well, that's sixpence I owe you, Algy. Remind me to give you a couple of postage stamps.
Cut the kettle and get moving. They're standing up.
Oh, baked potatoes, are they? Oh, look, thanks for settling the jolly old argument, soldier. You won't breathe a word to Ross about this, will you? I mean to say, we mustn't embarrass the poor old trout, must we?
Well,
look here, tell you what. I'll toss the tanner to see if you get it or Algy. Ah, heads, it's yours. Turtle pip, old bean, turtle pip.
Oh, hey, mister, this isn't sixpence. It's 2 bob. Oh, thanks.
Nip round the corner here. Then we can see them as they come out of the cafe.
They're coming now. Quick, round you pop.
Oh, blast, they're splitting up. And Ross is coming this way.
Couldn't be better. We'll tackle the trout.
No fear we won't. Not until we know more about him. We don't want to give the game away.
Seems a pity. He's going almost to rub noses with us.
We'll ignore him. Biggles told us to follow von Stalhein and report on his movements, and that's what we'll do.
Ah, well, the blight is heading for the station now, so it looks as if it's back to the blinking trains for us. Come on, old sausage.
Did he come straight back to London from there?
Yes. There was nothing at all suspicious about his movements. He left the train at Victoria Station, and we followed him to his hotel. He was still there when we left a few minutes ago.
You know, you blokes should be more on the ball than that. Do you mean to say you didn't see him snitching any secret plans, or photographing a London bus, or anything suspicious like that?
Well, I think what they saw was very suspicious. I don't like the thought of von Stalhein being friendly with a young soldier.
Yeah, and what about you, blighters? As far as we can tell, you haven't discovered a bally thing. What did you do in that pub all day? Drink milkshakes?
We found plenty.
It's all background stuff, but it's well worth knowing. While he's here, von Stalhein is going under the name of Jan Stalek.
I'm not surprised at that. If he's up to mischief, he'd scarcely use his own name.
Who is Jan Stalek supposed to be, Biggles?
Well, that's interesting. He booked into the hotel with an American passport. The manager believes he's of Czech extraction.
Pure blue blood bally Prussian, that's old Starley.
However, for the sake of convenience, he carries another passport in his baggage. It was issued in Czechoslovakia, and it's also in the name of Stalek.
Why the sudden switch to Czech nationality, I wonder?
As useful as any other, I suppose.
And Czechoslovakia is a country that's behind the Iron Curtain. Hasn't that struck you?
The Iron Curtain? Sizzling sausages, this has possibilities, what?
And what else did you find out, Biggles?
That he's supposed to be a salesman for an American firm of merchants, that he arrived in London 4 months ago, and that since then he's made a quick 3-day trip to Paris.
And he has plenty of dollars. And he's been very busy since he's been here. The blighter's up to something, all right.
Oh, sizzling sausages, what have we been telling you? He's been burbling up to Caterham and buying coffee for young guardsmen.
Does it make sense to you yet, Biggles? For the life of me, I can't see why he should be doing that.
Spying, I'd say. That's usually why enemy agents tackle soldiers.
But, Ginge, an agent as important as von Stalhein wouldn't worry about a young private. This lad Ross wouldn't know anything important.
And who would he spy for? We aren't at war with Germany now. And I've never known von Stalhein be interested in another country.
If he thought it might ultimately help Germany to regain power, he'd work for anyone, Alger. And don't forget, there's a vicious Cold War being waged at the moment. Many countries would pay a high price for an agent as capable as von Stalheim.
Then you think he is spying, Biggles?
Not in the ordinary sense, no. But I'll wager that he's working for a foreign power. However, guesses are no use to us. We must find out.
Pardon the query, old bean, but, how?
Well, tomorrow, a couple of us will make a trip to Caterham, and we'll find out all we can about Guardsman Ian Ross. Through him, we may discover what we want to know about von Stalheim.
Oh, what you tell me is most disturbing, Inspector. Particularly as we've been having quite an amount of trouble here lately.
Trouble?
Yes, but that isn't your concern. I'll have the young idiot confined to barracks. It'll stop him seeing this German agent fellow.
No, Colonel. Ross is unimportant, except that he may be able to help us to trap von Stalheim. He's the big fish we want to land.
Yes, perhaps he's the big fish to you. But I am interested in my soldiers. Can't have this sort of behavior going on.
I take it you're also interested in England.
Good heavens, you don't mean that...
I mean that von Stalheim may well be involved in a stunt that could be dangerous to the nation. That's why you must cooperate with us, Colonel.
Well, if you put it that way... what is it you wish me to do?
I'd like to question Ross, if I may, in here with no one present but ourselves.
That's highly irregular, Bickersworth. After all, you are a civilian.
And this is a matter of national importance.
Very well. I'll have the RSM parade the lad.
You mentioned some trouble, sir. What was that?
Oh, purely an internal matter, Sergeant. I can't see it has any connection with your spy.
I wouldn't guarantee that, sir. Von Stalheim may foment all sorts of trouble.
Sir. Sergeant Major, have you any idea where Guardsman Ross is at the moment?
Yes, sir. He's with a fatigue party working outside the orderly room.
Good. Parade him to me immediately, will you?
Yes, sir.
Well, that shouldn't waste much time. What sort of a man is this Ross, Colonel?
Oh, typical recruit. Quite a good soldier, Marco. Hasn't been with us very long, of course, but I think we'll make something of him.
He's quite young, isn't he?
19. He's still doing recruit training.
Then he wouldn't know anything that would be useful to a spy, would he?
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Guardsman Ross, quick, march! Halt! Parading Guardsman Ross, sir.
Very good, Sergeant Major. You may dismiss. I shall interview Guardsman Ross in private. I'll buzz for you when I'm ready.
Yes, sir.
Stand ease, Ross. This is the man, Inspector. You may ask him what you wish.
Thank you. I'm from Scotland Yard, Ross.
Scotland Yard?
Yes. No reason why that should worry you, is there?
No, sir.
I merely want to ask you about a man you had coffee with yesterday. His name is Jan Stalheim. Why do you start like that?
No reason, sir.
You did have coffee with him, didn't you?
I can't tell you anything about him.
Ross!
Leave it to me, if you don't mind, Colonel. Ross, do you know that that man is one of the most dangerous agents in Europe? And that he's probably working for an enemy of England?
Is that so, sir?
You did know, Ross. Have you been passing information to him?
No, I haven't.
Then why did he meet you? What did he discuss with you in that cafe? If you don't answer me, Ross, it'll look very serious for you. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand.
Then tell me, without lies, why is this man Stalheim interested in you, a private of the Guards?
I'll tell you. I'll have nothing to do with his dirty scheme, so I'll tell you. He wants me to run away from here and join an international brigade in Europe. That's what he's after, sir. Deserters from the army.
Deserters. Deserters from the British Army. Biggles hadn't even dreamed of this possibility. Is Ross telling the truth? And what was the trouble that the Colonel mentioned? The air police are being caught up in a mesh of intrigue and excitement. So don't miss the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles.
The Air Adventures of Biggles.
At last, Biggles' efforts to establish why von Stalhein is in England meet with success. He and Algy ran down to Caterham to learn more of the young guardsman Ian Ross, with whom the German had been seen the day before. The commanding officer, Colonel Kirkham, was not pleased to have police interference in his regimental affairs, but he agreed that Biggles should question Ross. The young soldier is nervous and hesitant as he faces Biggles. When von Stalhein is mentioned, or Stalek as he calls himself in England, Ross is visibly upset. Finally, in response to Biggles' cold, stern questions, he breaks down.
I'll tell you. I won't have anything to do with his dirty scheme, so I'll tell you what he wants. He's trying to get me to run away from here and join an international brigade in Europe.
To desert?
Yes, sir. That's about it.
Why, you confounded young idiot!
Please, Colonel. This may be more serious than we know, so will you leave me to handle it?
You're inciting deserters from the guards. I'll have this Stalek arrested immediately.
You'll do nothing for the moment, sir. Forgive me for speaking strongly, but I know von Stalheim, or Stalek, and I know what I'm doing.
Oh, very well. Go ahead with your questioning. But you'll be punished for this, Ross. One crime the guards will not tolerate is desertion. Don't think you'll get away with it.
No, sir.
Guardsman Ross hasn't committed any crime yet, Colonel. He has, quite correctly, reported to us that a foreigner was trying to persuade him to desert. Trying unsuccessfully.
Well, go on.
Now, Ross, I think you appreciate the seriousness of the situation, so you'd best tell me everything you know of Stalek. You can see that it will be better for you if you do.
Yes, I see that.
Right then. Now, what did von Stalheim, Stalek, tell you about himself?
He told me it was a Czech, sir. Said he fought in the war.
I'll bet he didn't tell you which side he fought on.
Was yesterday the first time you'd met him?
No, sir. The third. I met him by appointment.
Well, you were considering his suggestion.
What did he actually suggest? I suppose he told you something about this international brigade?
A little. He said it was sort of like the French Foreign Legion, made up of soldiers of all nations. As he put it, it sounded all right. The pay is twice as much as ours, and there's plenty of leave and sport and so forth.
And it's based behind the Iron Curtain?
In Czechoslovakia, sir. But he said there'd be a guarantee that we should never have to fight against our own country.
A man who joins that kind of army, Ross, has no country. I can't imagine a lad with his senses, a good Scot like you, even thinking such a thing.
Why did you consider it, Ross?
I didn't, sir.
Oh, no, look here,
It's
man.
the truth, sir. I didn't. I wanted to find out about my chum, Hugh MacDonald.
MacDonald? So, that's where he's gone.
What's this, Colonel?
Guardsman MacDonald has been absent without leave for some time. We haven't been able to locate him.
He joined this brigade, and so did some of the others. I didn't care about them, but Hugh was my friend. So I played along with this Stalek to find out where he was.
Did you establish that?
Aye, he's in Czechoslovakia. I have a letter from him here.
What do you think of that, Algy?
It's a forgery if ever I've seen one. But it's certainly postmarked Prague.
Now, you say you aren't going to join this brigade. Have you told Stalek that?
No, I said I'd think it over. I hoped he'd tell me more about MacDonald.
Apart from MacDonald, how many men have fallen for this proposition?
I can't answer that. The last 3 months we've had to post 7 men absent without leave.
And it may be happening in other units too, Biggles.
That's occurred to me. Well, Colonel, at least we've solved a mystery for you. But I'd like to speak to you alone before you take any action. Do you mind if Ross waits outside? We may need him again.
Very well. You may dismiss Ross. Wait to the Sergeant Major's office until I send for you.
Yes, sir.
There'll be some action taken about this, Inspector. You can rest assured of that.
It will be, sir, but it may be better if it's taken by us.
What do you make of it, Biggles?
It's pretty clear, Alger. A foreign power, we can guess which one, is apparently forming a unit composed of troops of other nationalities. It isn't a new idea. Hitler did it, the French have one, and there was the famous International Brigade in the Spanish Civil War.
And what's the idea of it?
Well, a unit like that could be useful in a number of ways. It could be an efficient fighting force, and then the men could instruct other soldiers in drill, tactics, and equipment of every country in Europe. Any army could use a brigade of that sort.
Then you agree, Colonel, that this is a most serious matter. Serious beyond the regimental plane.
Perhaps it is, Bigglesworth. But what can you do about it? Nor Scotland Yard, nor... not counter-espionage.
There's an idea forming in my mind. The detail isn't complete yet, but it's worth discussing. Now, the important thing is, we've got to get these men back.
Oh, sizzling sausages. How does the old Lord and Master expect us to settle down to routine work when there's a positively scrumptious rumpus like this Starley business bursting over our belly heads? I can't push this pen another stroke.
You'd better push it, Bertie. We won't get those new planes unless we do this bookwork.
Well, I'm with you, Bertie. I want to be out and doing something. It's an absolute waste of talent leaving us in the office all day like this.
Well, more than that, old bean, it's positively dangerous. I mean to say, who can tell what nonsense old Starley might get up to while Biggles and Algy are nattering down at Caterham? Yes, I feel absolutely unsafe.
You're talking nonsense, Bertie. Any feeling you have is pure restlessness. Now get back to work and leave Biggles to look after von Stalheim.
But Bertie's right, Pat. Biggles isn't looking after the blighter. He and Algy are down at the guards depot. And for all we know, von Stalheim might be still here in London.
By Jove, Ginge, you've talked me into it. We're going to find out.
Sit down, Bertie. If Biggles had wanted you to shadow von Stalheim, he'd have told you to.
Oh, don't you believe it, old darling. The Lord and Master is a positive genius, of course, but he can't think of everything. It's only we lissies who are guilty of that.
And he was so busy worrying about young Ross that he forgot about von Stalheim himself. Come on, Bertie. We're going round to the Grosvenor Hotel.
But what about these returns on the aircraft? Who's going to do those?
Oh, the returns, eh? Look here, old darling. I love you dearly, don't you know, and I think you're a positive whiz at doing returns.
Yes, I've noticed that before.
Yes, well, now, look here, I'll tell you what, Pat. You do a bit of a job for us, eh? From now on, the unit is completely in your hands.
Bertie, what are we going to do? Just stay out here in the street and sort of hope for something to happen? After all, he may have left that pub there hours ago.
Oh, yes, Albine, I know that, but then, of course, on the other hand, he may not. I mean to say, oh, by Jove, look. That isn't my Aunt Ermintrude coming down the valley steps, I know that.
Get back out of sight, Bertie. He mustn't see us.
Don't worry. Quite all right about that, because we're the last sausages old Starley expects to see. He's far too busy looking for someone.
Someone be hanged. He's hailed a cab.
A cab? Oh, no.
Oh, now we're sunk. There isn't another blessed cab within miles.
Oh, well, seems the afternoon sport is off owing to insufficient transport. Oh, well, it was a nice thought anyway.
You know, we needn't write off the afternoon. Starley may have gone, but there's still plenty we can do.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We can take a peek at a Mickey Mouse film if you feel so inclined.
Biggles and I went to his hotel room yesterday, but we didn't spend long at it. It may be worth another visit now.
Old Bean, there are times when I can almost see the grey matter peeping through the Hebblethwaite noddle. Have you got a skeleton key?
Oh, my word. Room 58, third floor. You never know what we might find there, Bertie. Hello, Bertie. Look at this. This wasn't here yesterday. What do you make of it, Bertie? Look at it. Oh, by Jove.
What would any bellycot make of it? This is a list of the identification marks of our planes.
That's what I think.
Yeah, the blighter must be spying on us, too.
He may be. But you know, being von Stalheim, he'd automatically find out all he could about us, wouldn't he?
Well, by Jove, yes, boy, I suppose he would.
He would nose out what he could. After all, we have crossed swords with him more than any other Englishman.
By Jove, I must say I hope you're right, old bean.
I think we're on the right track there.
Well, I hope so, because I'd hate to think he knew we were on his back at the moment. I mean... I say... That's odd.
What's odd? What is?
Look over there, that box of ties.
Where?
Oh, look here they are. Oh, there are about a dozen in it. By Jove, they're all brand new. And you notice something about them? They're all the same. All black with red spots.
All black with red spots?
Yes,
What's that got to
look
do
at
with
them,
it? Well, what about it? Haven't you ever seen black ties with red spots? Plenty of men wear ties like that.
Oh, yes, I know that, Albine, but I mean to say most trouts don't buy ties a dozen at a time. If they do, they're certainly not all the same pattern, are they? I mean, added to which I've never seen old Starley wear anything but a plain black tie.
By Jove, you're right. Although he was wearing one of these when I saw him yesterday. I remember noticing it.
Did you, old boy? Well, of course, maybe nothing in this, but I wouldn't mind betting these jolly old ties tie in somewhere.
Oh,
I say, that's rather good, isn't it? Ties tie in, you see.
What the blazes?
Well, having a nice little party in here, are you?
Who the dickens are you?
I'll ask the question, chum. Put up your hands and don't either of you make a move. Now, you can just tell me what you two bright boys are doing in Mr. Starlake's room.
Bertie and Ginge stare apprehensively at the stranger's automatic. Is this man an accomplice of von Stalhein? How does Biggles plan to bring back the missing soldiers? The thrills will mount in the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles.
The Air Adventures of Biggles.
In the colonel's office at the guards depot, Biggles learns how von Stalhein has been persuading soldiers to desert from the British Army and join an international brigade in an Iron Curtain country. Meanwhile, Bertie and Ginger, restless of inactivity, make another search of von Stalhein's hotel room in London. They make several interesting discoveries, but before they can analyze them, the door is flung open and they're held at gunpoint by a menacing stranger.
You blokes had better have a mighty good story. Now, who are you? And what are you doing in Mr. Starlake's room?
Don't you burble at us like that, old trout. I'll tell you who we jolly well are.
No, I'd rather know who this chap is first.
What's that?
Huh?
Sizzling sausages, yes. By Jove, nearly went in where angels fear to toddle sort of nonsense, didn't I?
You don't seem to understand the situation. You've been caught burgling a private room, not me.
Oh, I say, that I will not take. No Lizzie has ever been a belly burglar, apart from Uncle Eustace, but then he was a bit weak in the old novel anyway.
Come off it, chum. This case is wide open. You've been through his drawers, and you're still holding a bundle of ties in your hand. I've never caught a burglar so red-handed.
Do you make a practice of catching burglars?
If they're about, I catch 'em. Now put down those ties and come with me. I know a certain constable who'll be mighty interested to meet you two beauties.
Constable? Oh, I say now, just a second.
You're going to take us to the police?
You bet I am. I'll even get a receipt for you, so that I can show the manager and talk him into a rise.
Oh, then you aren't a friend of this chap Starley?
Oh, not particularly. Too much of a cold fish for my liking, but I look after him just the same as all the other guests.
Oh, Bertie! Do you know what? We've been arrested by a detective. A hotel detective.
Oh, I say. Oh, a very amateur. Dear old Uncle Eustace was always picked up by the very best. Whenever he was run in, it was never by anything lower than a sergeant. Oh, by Jove, a hotel detective, baked potatoes, what a sell.
Now listen, you can cut out the cackle. If it's a sergeant you want, you'll have him when you get to the police station.
Just a second, old son. I think we better introduce ourselves. This is Constable Lissy.
And, despite the red hair and rather vacuous countenance, that's Constable Hebblethwaite.
Huh?
I say, did you ever hear of a copper with such a ridiculous name?
Constable, you mean you're the police?
Oh, I say, well, not ordinary flat feet, old bean. We're the aristocracy of the jolly old force. Air police.
Oh, no, you don't. You're not going to put this over me. I've met smart crooks before. You can play your little games with the sergeant down at the station.
Oh, dear, the world would be a much happier place if it weren't for disbelieving blighters like you. Look here, trot forth a credential or three, Ginge. Otherwise I might feel tempted to sock him just for the pleasure of it.
Just a second. There. Now, do those papers satisfy you?
I'll be blowed. Well, what are you doing here? And where's your search warrant?
Oh, I say. Well, I think we're rather stonkered on that one, Ginge.
Yes, we should have picked up a warrant. But you needn't worry. The manager knows me. I went through the room with our inspector yesterday.
You still need a search warrant before you can enter private premises.
Oh, he's still going to be difficult. Oh, we'll just have to explain, Ginge. You see, old sausage, once upon a time there was a most loathsome reptile called von Stalheim. But when he came to England, he used the name Stalek. Because he was a reptile and therefore dangerous, it became necessary that we should deal with this von Stalheim without worrying about the formalities that are usually employed in such a case.
It's necessary that we should deal with von Stalheim without worrying too much about formalities or conventional procedure. You must understand that, Colonel.
Well, if there's a procedure laid down, I always try to follow it. Army training, you know. But you seem to know what you're doing, Biggleswell, so tell me more about your plan.
It's still quite vague, I'm afraid, but it's essential that we should not merely bring von Stalheim to justice, but that we upset his scheme of tempting soldiers to desert from our army and bring back those young idiots who've already done it.
That's a pretty big order, Biggles.
Much of it doesn't concern me. It's my own unit I'm worried about. I feel like having this fellow Starek, von Stalheim, or whatever he's called, arrested at once. That'll prevent any more desertions.
I doubt it, Colonel. If we remove him, someone else will eventually be sent over to carry on his work. But worse than that, our enemies will go into smoke for a while, and we'll have no hope of undoing the damage that's already been done.
But what can we do about it? It seems to me that those deserters have gone into smoke. I can't see how we can get them back.
If we are led to them, we can.
Don't contradict yourself, Inspector. You said this von Stalheim was a brilliant agent. Now you're suggesting he'll lead you to his international brigade.
He won't, but young Ian Ross might.
What?
That's about as far as I've worked it out yet. But if Ross played along with von Stalheim, even to the extent of joining his brigade if necessary, then we could follow him and rescue the others. We can be sure they'll be only too glad to come back to England after a taste of Iron Curtain rule.
But hang it, man, you're suggesting that Ross should desert.
That he should apparently desert. You could easily grant him extended leave, Colonel. What he does on his leave needn't concern you.
It's an outrageous idea. I wouldn't consider it. Why, if it were found out the lad was double-dealing, he'd be killed instantly. I wouldn't order anyone to do a job like that.
There'll be no ordering. The job, if we do it, will be purely voluntary. And what's so outrageous about it? We'll merely be asking Ross to do what thousands have done before, to act as an agent for his country, Colonel.
Well, I'll leave it to Ross to decide.
Will I bring him in?
Yes, Algy.
You can come in again, Ross.
All right, lad. Stand easy. Now, the inspector has a most unusual proposition to put to you. Listen to carefully what he has to say, and make your own decision about it. I shan't influence you in any way.
Oh, what is it, Inspector?
Ross, I believe you can help us, and at the same time help those friends of yours who've practically thrown away their lives by joining this international brigade.
I'll do what I can, sir, but I don't want to get anyone into trouble.
All deserters will be punished when they return to their units.
Yes.
Make no mistake about that.
But I have a feeling they'd rather face that punishment than stay where they are now.
Well, you're talking as if these chaps will be brought back.
That's the object of my proposition, Ross. I'm going to ask you to help us bring them back.
Well, of course, sir. I'd do anything to help with that.
It might cost you your life.
Well, I thought that one out before I joined the army, sir. I'll do anything you want.
Good man. I can't give you full details of my plan now because I haven't worked it out yet. But if you agree to have any part of it, you must understand that there will be no pulling back. Even if we ask you to go behind the Iron Curtain and join the International Brigade yourself.
Sorry, sir, but you sort of knocked the wind out of me.
Will you do it?
I'll do it.
Then let's work on preliminaries at once. When are you likely to see Stalheim again?
This afternoon. I'm to meet him at the Stand Easy Cafe at 4 o'clock.
Then that's when you'll start working for us. Ross, I want information about this brigade, but you must get it in such a way that you don't for a moment arouse suspicion. You're dealing with one of the cleverest and most dangerous men in Europe. And from now on, you must remember that one slip with von Stalhein may mean death.
So you are here after all, Jan. It's good to see you.
Hello, Mr. Stalheim. I said I'd come, didn't I?
You said you might be here. And you said it in such a way that I feared you had lost your nerve.
Oh, don't you worry about that. My nerve will stand up to any decision I make.
It will have to, you know, Jan. If you decide to join this enterprise, to have any part of it, there will be no turning back.
I don't walk out on my friends, Mr. Stalheim.
No, that is right. And, of course, your friend Hugh MacDonald has already joined us, hasn't he? I see you have ordered coffee. While we drink it, you will tell me of your decision.
Well, I haven't decided yet. Not completely.
You are an obstinate young man. You take so much persuasion before you reach a decision.
Well, it's a pretty big decision to make.
It certainly is.
I've been chewing it over, Mr. Stalheim, and I've decided there's quite a lot more I want to know. That is, before I can make up my mind.
But I have already told you everything. Everything. What the brigade is, pay, the conditions of life. What more do you wish to know?
Well, quite a bit. I want to know what the brigade does, where it is, and how I get to it.
So, anything else?
No. If I know all that about it, I'll understand what I'm in for, and I might be tempted to come across.
Why have you not asked these questions before?
Well, it was only when I was chewing it over last night that I thought of them. I realized that it was a pretty big thing, and I'd need to know a lot about it before
That you would need to know just those matters that would interest the British intelligence.
Oh, no. Now, wait a minute.
I think you're lying, Ross. So far, the only questions you have asked me have concerned your friend MacDonald. Now you ask me for highly secret and important information. I think those questions were suggested to you, Ross. I think you're a spy.
Ross's lack of subtlety has already aroused von Stalhein's suspicions. Will his blunder wreck Biggles' plan so soon? To what excitement will this probe behind the Iron Curtain lead the Air Police? Don't miss the thrills in the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles.
The Air Adventures of Biggles.
As usual, Biggles has decided on a daring plan with which to tackle his enemies. Young Guardsman Ross is to be used as a decoy to lead the air police to the International Brigade of Deserters from the United Nations armies, and Ross is keen and willing. But he bungles his first task. At a meeting with the wily Erich von Stalhein in the Stand Easy Cafe, he asks much too bluntly the questions that Biggles wants answered. The German is suspicious at once and accuses Ian Ross of being a spy.
When I first discussed this matter with you, Ross, I warned you we were dealing with dangerous matters. I told you that a word of our conversation to your authorities could mean your death.
Aye, I remember all that rot. What of it?
It is not rot, as you may learn. Ross, to whom did you report this?
Oh, now you're way ahead of me, Mr. Stalheim. I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I contacted you because Hugh MacDonald gave me your name when he joined us. At first, you were not very interested in my proposition, but you were interested in your friend MacDonald. Then, suddenly, you wish to know highly important details of the brigade.
Well, of course I do. I'm not the sort who goes into a thing with his eyes shut.
Indeed not, Mr. Ross. You would not have thought of such questions of your own will. Someone suggested them to you. Who?
Mr. Stalheim, I'm just a plain, simple soldier. All this Tommy Rothschild talking is way above my head. If you want me to fight in this army of yours, let's get down to facts. But if you're going to try to bamboozle me, we might as well forget it now.
Ross, you discussed this with no one.
What do you think I am, a fool?
I am wondering about that.
You're trying to get me to desert from the guards. Do you think I'm likely to broadcast that? I don't want to end up before a court-martial, Mr. Stalheim.
Yes, I can understand your point of view, Ross, but what made you ask me those questions?
Have I got to keep on telling you? I want to know what I'll be in for. I'm a Scot, and we Scots are canny. We don't buy anything at face value.
Yes. Yes, of course. Very well, Ross. I will believe you. But take this as a warning never to double-cross me.
Can't we get off that line? Now look here, if life in your brigade is going to be full of suspicion like this, I don't think I'll care for it very much.
No, Ian. I am a little nervous, that is all. Nervous. If your authorities were to guess at my business, I should be in a most dangerous situation.
All right, then. Let's forget it, shall we? Now, Mr. Stalheim, how about these questions of mine? Do I learn what I'm in for, or not?
You should have been more careful, Ian. Von Stalhein's a subtle devil, and he must be handled subtly.
That's one lesson I've learned, Inspector. Next time I'll throw my questions sideways, not straight out.
You're quite sure he isn't suspicious of you still?
I don't think he is. I played simple. Didn't understand what he was suspicious about. After a while, it seemed to go over.
I hope you're right. Now, What did you find out from him?
Well, not very much, I'm afraid. He was just a little bit too clever for me there. He treated me as if I was a child and explained how some secrets just cannot be passed on.
I expected that. But you did learn something.
Aye. When I decide to accept his offer, I'll be given a suit of civilian clothes, money, a passport, and an air ticket from London to a European airport.
Which one?
Well, I couldn't get that out of him, but he still hints that the International Brigade is somewhere in Czechoslovakia.
Does von Stalhein go with you on this air trip?
No. I'll be met at the foreign airport by a man who will tell me what to do next. And he suggests that Saturday would be the best day to go because I can get a weekend leave pass and won't be missed for a few days. Well, that's about all I found out for you, Inspector. I did try to get more.
You did very well, Ian. That may be enough for the moment.
Of course, when I get over to the brigade, I'll be able to tell you all about it then.
Don't run away with any false ideas about this, Ian. It's going to be dangerous and very difficult. All this talk of fine conditions is eyewash. Once you go behind the Iron Curtain, you will be virtually a prisoner. You won't be able to get messages either in or out. You'll have to wait for one of us to contact you.
You're going over too?
It's not even definite that you're going yet. So don't let's worry about that for the moment.
Oh, but I thought that was the idea, that I should join this brigade.
It may have to come to that, but I have a lot of information to sift through with my staff and a definite plan to make before I can even ask for official permission. And it isn't at all certain that it'll be granted.
Then what do you want me to do?
Just keep on as you're going with von Stalheim. Lean towards accepting, but stall him until you receive definite instructions from me. You'll hear within a day or two. You're still in the game, Ian. So, good luck.
You're talking to your hat, Bertie. Von Stalheim wouldn't fall for a stupid stunt like that. The minute he saw one of us, he'd know we were on his tail.
What you clocks don't seem to appreciate is the Lissy talent for acting. When I adopt a role, I rediscover myself and become the sausage I create.
Oh.
If I did this, old Starley would never see through me.
You're an ass, Bertie. If you can't get your brain onto a normal plane, for Pete's sake, pipe down.
Now, look here, old man.
Oh, stop arguing and going off into side issues. We have a serious problem in front of us. The only way we can tackle it is by facing up to the facts that we already know.
Let's run through them again, Biggles. Then we can concentrate on your plan and forget Bertie's inanities.
Oh, not you too, old darling. Oh, by Jove, this is the most unkindest cut of all.
Well, we all know about the brigade. That's made up of deserters from United Nations armies, and it's being used by the Iron Curtain countries.
Well, we don't know that there are other armies involved, Ginge. Apart from the blokes who are Ack Willie from the Guards, the rest is assumptions.
I'm afraid it isn't, Alger. This evening I wired Marcel Brissac of the French Air Police, and he tells me they suspect that something like this is happening in France. He's flying across in the morning to discuss it with us.
Well, that makes it definite that the brigade is international, but that's about all we do know about it.
From Ross's discoveries yesterday, we know that there's an organized chain through some European airport, by which the deserters are shunted from their country to Czechoslovakia.
Oh, according to the Starley sausage, it's Checo what's-her-name. That may be a blind, you know.
It may be. Therefore, we'll put that one in the hearsay department. Obviously, von Stalheim works with other agents here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to arrange passports and air tickets and so forth. You may be sure that all these things are underhand and false. He wouldn't dare to come into the open with them.
And somewhere mixed up in the business are red-spotted ties. Don't forget the box we saw at the pub this morning, Biggles.
No. I can't say definitely what they're used for, of course, but I've got a hunch they're to do with identification. It's quite common for a widely dispersed gang to use an article of clothing as a sort of badge.
I say, if we're going to be all muddled up in this blinking nonsense, wouldn't it be useful for us to have ties like that ourselves? I mean to say it might come in most frightfully handy one of these days if we could pass ourselves off as part of the gang.
Oh, don't let's get on to your acting ability again, Bertie. We've heard enough about that to last us a lifetime.
There may be something in what you say all the same, Bertie. Listen, tomorrow see if you can buy some ties identical with those we saw.
Black with red spots. They shall be purchased forthwith, old trout.
What else is there, Biggles? That's all we know that's important, isn't it?
Yes, Pat, just about. It's the core on which we have to work anyway. Now, my plan is that Ross should enlist in this international brigade and let von Stalhein send him through the chain to his destination.
With us tootling along behind, what?
More or less.
Yeah,
Yes.
sounds a darn good scheme to me, Biggles.
Well, let's get cracking on it.
We can't until we've been given official permission. After all, we are air police, and normally a stunt like this would be handled by Army intelligence or the espionage people.
Oh, I say, we can't let that happen, old bean. After all, we have special ballet talents for this type of work.
Acting talent, for instance.
Oh, by Jove, I stood enough. I positively stood enough from you, Klotz, just because...
Now, hold it, Bertie. I intend to see Assistant Commissioner Raymond first thing in the morning and ask for the okay. If it's given, we'll go to work at once.
Well, I hope the old boy sleeps well tonight.
Algy, while I'm doing that, you and Pat might run over to the drome for me.
Okay.
Marcel Brissac will be across from Paris about 9 o'clock. Will you meet him and bring him back here? I have a feeling that Marcel may have corroborating evidence which will convince the old man.
In that case, we'll have him here on the dot.
Good. Well, that's all for tonight, blokes. Tomorrow, with luck, the wheels may be turning.
It's a block, isn't it? Wasn't Marcel flying one of those last time we saw him?
Yes, that's Marcel. Come across to the tarmac. We'll wait for him.
It'll be good to see him again. I like Marcel.
He likes you, too. And he isn't ashamed to show it, the blighter. Darn Frenchman, you can't trust him.
Oh, Algy, he's one of your best friends.
I wouldn't trust anyone where you're concerned, Pat. He's flying that kite down slowly. He's almost back to stalling speed.
I hope nothing's wrong.
It's not like Marcel to fly a plane that way.
He's throttled back to land, of course. He might have gone too far.
If he goes too far, they'll prang. He's only a few feet up. Pat, that wing, the port wing!
It's tearing off! Algy!
Pat and Algy stand horrified as the wing peels back from the French machine and the plane crashes to the ground. What has caused this accident? Is it in some way connected with the International Brigade? Listen for the excitement in the next chapter of The Air Adventures of Biggles.